Madam Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Chao Bo Sang, Chao Mung. Let me warmly welcome the head of the delegation, Her Excellency Mrs. Nguyen Thi Ha, and honorary delegation members. Your Excellencies, Vietnam developed women's rights policy and adopted gender-sensitive legislation during the last 20 years. The law 2006 on gender equality is constantly reviewed in order to achieve the goal laid out it. The national strategy on gender equality lays out more specific objectives and targets for enhancing gender equality in the Vietnamese society. Vietnam has a comprehensive system of policies and laws on gender equality, in which accountability and the monitoring mechanisms are stipulated in the law on gender equality. At the same time, the absence of unified monitoring framework, gender-responsive budgeting processes, and robust sex, ethnicity, disability, and suggested disaggregated data limits evidence-based policy making. In particular, where planning and budgeting systems are not linked, gender statistics can become dispersed across multiple databases and difficult to consolidate for systematic monitoring and reporting. The absence of a whole of government coordination mechanism with adequate authority, budget leverage, and monitoring capacity weakness implementation of national strategy. As a practical near-term entry point of strengthen accountability and incentivate cross-sector compliance, gender-responsive budgetary reporting, for example, an annex to annual budget estimates, could be institutionalized as a step toward more systematic gender-responsive budgeting and improved availability of disaggregated data as a policy oversight. The law statistics 2015 does not include an obligation require state agencies to provide sex disaggregated data. We don't say about just the numbers, but we say about the policy which including by the UN statistic data. In particular, Vietnam's women has made substantial contribution to peacekeeping and securities. Since 2018, Vietnam has deployed female officers to UN's peacekeeper missions. International diplomacy and relations, especially in non-alignment organization, which is a main goal, peace and international security, and Vietnam giving their all involved and giving all their own points and support in this line. But at the same time, absence coordination mechanisms, budgetary leverage, and monitoring capacity weakens implementation of gender equality strategy and limits accountability for effective implementation of gender equality in women policy. Clear performance indicators, parliamentary oversight, independence evaluation of the national machinery effective remain limited. Unfortunately, engagement with civil society is uneven and often consultative rather than systematic. Civil society registration procedures create barriers for independence activities. And I'm going to the questions. What mechanisms ensure compliance by sectoral ministers and provincial authorities with gender equality obligations? What dedicated budget allocated are provided to the national machinery, and how is funding stability ensured? How does the government regulate collective gender disaggregated data? Any online data bank system created? We know that you have data bank creating, but is it virtual online data bank including all 11 agencies, ministers in your country? How it works? Gender equality policy for the national minorities. How does ministers provide to Khmer Krom women and the Khmer Christian women accessibility to the state services of their own native languages? And two main questions, which is very important and where already Vietnam government made during the last 20 years good efforts. 1325 UN Security Council resolution. How did you implement this internationally recognized universal document? For example, you have earlier during the 50 years several conflict situations, border conflict situations with different countries, with China, Cambodia, and different countries. How you are resolving and using women in peace building negotiations as in diplomatic line? And last question, how did you support activities of civil society? Is it a financial fund for sustainable independent activities? Come on that? No.